Is your degree holding you hostage? More often, people only talk about how lack of a degree or certain certificate holds people from moving forward in life. No one really talks about how these very certificates can become an obstacle at some point. And so, in this video, I would like to point out how having a degree or certain certificates can sometimes become a hindrance, especially in a world that's fast changing. Hello everyone and welcome to another video. My name is Nicky Verd. I am the voice for those who yearn to upskill, innovate, disrupt the status quo, and recreate themselves in a world that's fast changing. I am also the author of the best-selling book, Disrupt Yourself or Be Disrupted. And so, if you would like to have access to relevant and actionable information to navigate the changing world of work, the changing world of technology, the digital economy, and so much more, hit the subscribe button below and click that little bell so that every time I upload a new video, you will not miss out. And watch till the very end because I've got a surprise for you. The question of the usefulness of a university degree has emerged strongly in recent times. However, this conversation today isn't exactly focused on the usefulness of a degree, but rather on how agile people with certain degrees can move and adapt in a changing world. The need to transition to a new world was apparent long before COVID-19 arrived. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, nanotechnology, 3D printing, genetics, biotechnology, all these technologies and much more, they have been causing a widespread disruption to the labor market across the globe. And so, transitioning from one industry to another, rather than advancing in a more linear way from role to role within a specific occupation or a specific field or a specific certificate, it's now becoming a thing of the past, Yes, a degree can actually hold you hostage, constricting your freedom in both your thoughts and your actions. Because the world is changing so fast. Some degrees are completely obsolete, Some don't really have any relevance in the real world. Yet, people keep holding on to them simply because, maybe they paid so much money for it, or maybe it came from such a prestigious university and they do not want to lose that, But the truth is that many jobs don't require a degree nowadays. And there are so many other alternatives one could take, from apprenticeship to freelancing or starting your own thing, whatever that thing is, which doesn't necessarily need or require a degree. The problem, however, is that people are unwilling to step outside their academic qualification or outside their industry to try something new. And that's the mindset of, there's this mindset of once an accountant, always an accountant, even though AI is taking over the accounting profession. No, there's this mindset of once a banker, always a banker, even though more and more branches of banks are being closed down and banking is going digital. There's this mindset of once a cashier, always a cashier, even though self-service machines are taking over the retail industry. And this is where the hostage situation I'm talking about comes in, because people are unwilling to step outside of their certificates. People are unwilling to step outside of their industry, to look for other alternatives. They're just stuck there. But there's something that David Emenike, a writer and a poet, he said, it is better to explore a gainful uncertainty than to sit in a painful certainty. So personally, I don't have all of these titles or certificates or all of the fancy nothings that make people too afraid to look stupid or to try new things, all right? So for those of you who know me and you know my story, you know that I don't have a degree. Yes, I was retrenched from my job and I wasn't doing anything fancy. I was in the admin department, still trying to climb the corporate ladder, and retrenchment came. I was laid off, but somehow I was able to still do what I do and still try new things and figure out my life without having to worry, does this correlate with my certificate or not, because I didn't have those certificates. Some people seem to think that by simply attending college, you become more innovative or more creative, but that's simply not true. Creativity and innovation don't come from what your teachers taught you in school. It comes from new ideas, it comes from your personal experience. It comes from your interaction with people and with your environment. The fourth industrial revolution is demanding new competencies, and having just one certificate or a certificate or being affiliated to certain prestigious schools no longer makes anyone competent. Well, there was a time where just your affiliation with a particular institution opened up doors for you, but that time has passed. The playing fields are being leveled. Kids as young as 10 years are coding the future, while other kids are making millions of dollars per year on YouTube. But an adult who can do the very same thing won't do it because, well, they have a degree. That's a hostage situation. Like I mentioned before, I don't have this degree, all right? I am not an academician by any stretch of imagination, but I was able to study on my own an industry like the tech industry without necessarily having to go and sit in a classroom. And I'm able to speak on topics of emerging technologies within South Africa and internationally simply by studying on my own. Sometimes I speak to people that are even experts in the industry. This is possible because I decided I don't need anything to hold me hostage. I need to explore other options. I recently did a video on my channel here, and I spoke about education no longer being confined only to a classroom. Education is now on Google, but this education is for those who are free and are not being tied down, and those who are willing to upskill themselves. For those who are held hostage by their certificates, it's hard for them to think outside the box. And when they do think, they only think within the walls of a classroom. They only think about getting another degree, And I actually refer to this in my book as recycling your problems, because I don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me. Why would anyone go getting a second, third, fourth degree when the first one did absolutely nothing for them? I guess it's one of those mysteries of life. I really don't understand that. Anyway, like I always say, if I could learn what I learned on my own, even wrote a book about it, and I had no background, no prior background to that. I did this by simply having access to Google, having access to YouTube and other information. I think that anybody can do this. Anybody can adapt. Anybody can upskill themselves. Anybody can transition to an entirely new industry if they are open-minded. But because we have been baptized with this mindset that for you to qualify or to stand a chance at success, or for society to accept you, you need to spend so many years in school and to be certified and given all of these certificates, Hence, it actually took me such a long time to make peace with the idea of writing a book, because I disqualified myself. I felt like I needed to be really, really book smart to write a book, right? And so I just kind of started pulling back. But thank God I was able to have a conversation with myself, and I told myself, Nikki, you can do this. I know I can do this. I had that conversation with myself. Even though I am not qualified according to the world standard, but I believed in my heart that I could do this. And I did it. I became the student of life, and I am able to educate other people. Self-education is important. There's actually a chapter in my book, and it says, schooling is not education. When I was writing that particular chapter in my book, I was thinking about the journey in which I myself have been on. Not having any background in IT or the tech industry, having no degrees and having no fancy certificates, so to say, and yet I'm able to do what I do. And so that made me believe that schooling is not education. And it makes me believe that people are actually being held hostage by their certificates. I have educated myself, and so many other people out there have also done the same. Self-education to me is more powerful than having a degree. I do not need anyone to put a stamp, to certify me and say, okay, here's a certificate for you to prove to the world that you are qualified to do what you do. No, I don't need that. Yes, of course, there are certain professions that absolutely need formal training and formal education. For example, like the medical doctors, and other professions. They actually need training, but that's a conversation for another day. Today, we are talking about people being obsessed with going to school just because they need to have these certificates to fit in, But the world is changing. Work as we know it is changing. The kind of disruption that is happening right now is so great that even global conglomerates like Google, Apple, IBM, and so many, they are no longer looking for candidates based on their certificates. A degree by itself is just a piece of paper. Sadly so. You need to bring something more valuable to the table rather than just a degree. It's about what value are you bringing to the table? It's about what problems can you solve in real time? It's about asking the question, are you even aware of how technology is changing your industry? Or the only thing you are aware about, or the only thing you know is that I have a degree in biology, I have a degree in banking, I have a degree in accounting, and I'm looking for a job. Is that the only thing you know? Then you are left behind. People need to become really curious about life, curious about the future of work, curious about technology, and much more. And I think that curiosity in itself is a skill. I am driven by curiosity. Anything that I don't know, I throw myself in there and I will learn as much as I can. The more I don't know, the more I want to learn. As a keynote speaker, there are times I've been given topics to speak at conferences, and sometimes I don't have any clue what these topics are about. But still, I throw myself in there. I study the industry. I study everything about the topic. And when I deliver, it looks as if I've been working in that particular industry for years. No, I haven't. The only beauty of it is that I don't have certificate restricting me and holding my freedom. When I started public speaking, I realized, oh my God, there are people, even in the health sector, that are willing to bring me on board to speak. And I was like, I know nothing about the health sector, But then I realized that when you talk about technology, it is such a broad topic. And this topic can be applied to any industry. So I started asking the question, how can AI be applied in the health sector? How can blockchain, how can robotics be applied in the in the health sector? Or how can it be applied in the agriculture sector, And so for me, I see every topic as an opportunity to grow. I constantly have to keep learning to stay relevant. And here is the thing with some people that have degrees, they sit back with this mindset that, well, I don't need to worry about a thing, One day my degree is going to save me. I think that's a dangerous way of thinking. Because for me, the fact that I don't have a degree, that drives me. I cannot sit back. I have nothing to fall back on, even though it's just a false illusion that one day a degree is going to save you. But I don't even have that false illusion. So I am always ready to upskill myself. I am always ready to learn. I am always ready to do what will keep me relevant for the world in which we are living. But for someone who has a degree, maybe in biology or history or banking, they are like on lockdown, on that banking degree. It's hard for them to think outside of their academic background. But for me, if you call me tomorrow, I can give you a talk, even in banking. I can give you a talk about how technology is changing law, how technology is changing accounting. But I have no background in accounting. I have no background on law. If you call me, I can give you a talk on how artificial intelligence is affecting whatever industry, but I have no particular background in that industry, and I can be able to do this because I am not tied down by a particular certificate or degree. And I do understand that the versatile nature of public speaking doesn't apply to every industry, all right? But that's beside the point. The point is that a lot of people are held hostage by a very certificate or by the very certificates that were meant to liberate them. People have degrees that may never really be used in the real world, but still they're holding on to those certificates as if it's oxygen. They cannot let it go. Some are so attached to their accounting degree that it is impossible for them to think digital marketing or to transition to something like data analytics or some other relevant skills, you know. Whatever anybody says to them, they are just like, no, I am an accountant. Even though there is really no future in accounting. Even though there are accounting softwares that can do an accounting job way better than any human can. Yet people are so attached to the glory an accounting degree used to have. They are so attached to the glory that a banking degree used to have. And when I think of these type of scenarios, I see this, I'm like, this can't be education. I think it is some sort of prison. You know, if you cannot think outside of whatever degree you have studied in school, if you're unable to adapt in a changing world and you're holding on to these certificates, even though they are obsolete, I think it is prison. For me, I am open-minded. I can learn about digital marketing or social media if that's what is needed for me to stay relevant in the world in which we're living. You know, I can talk about blockchain, I can talk about robotics, I can talk about nanotechnology, I can talk about artificial intelligence. I can talk about all of these things because nothing holds me back. I don't have a particular degree that restricts me or holds me hostage, you know. I don't have any particular certificate that says, no, Nikki, stay on your lane, you know, your background is banking or your background is agriculture or your background is whatever. I don't have any of that. But ironically, whenever I use the knowledge that I have learned on my own, whenever people get to hear me speak maybe at a conference, or whenever people get to read my book, or whenever they just have an interaction with me, many people assume that I am from a very high university somehow. They assume that I have all these certificates. They assume that I'm really educated formally, you know. I am educated, but not formally. And nothing could be far from the truth. My knowledge is street-based. My knowledge comes from the fact that I have my ears on the ground. I am very observant about what's happening around me. I am very observant about where the world is going. I'm very observant and curious about what is happening, you know, and where the world is going. And that is where my knowledge comes from. Yuval Noah Harari, one of the great futurists and writer of our time, he said something. He said, to survive and flourish in such a world in which we're living, you will need a lot of mental flexibility and a great reserve of emotional balance. You will have to repeatedly let go of some of what you know best and feel at home with the unknown. And so, here are some thoughts for you. Are you feeling at home with the unknown? Are you upskilling yourself? Are you exploring? Are you adapting to the new world? Are you transitioning? Or is your degree holding you hostage? Are your certificates holding you hostage? Let me know in the comment section below. Share your thoughts. Let me know what your journey has been in a world that is fast changing. Check out my book, Disrupt Yourself or Be Disrupted, on Amazon. I believe you will enjoy it. Also check out other videos here on my channel. I will share the links in the description below, the links to my book and the links to the video. Looking forward to seeing you in my next video. Do not forget to like and share if you found this video valuable. Let someone else gain the knowledge. Thank you for watching. Me tomorrow